Hi, I'm Dr. Charles Hough. I'm a chiropractor. I've been a chiropractor for 40 years, and I'm good at what I do chiropractically, but that's not what this is about. I've been studying anti-aging medicine and functional medicine my whole career. In 1999, I completed a whole diplomate in anti-aging medicine through the American Academy of Anti-Aging Health Practitioners. And there's two rules there. One is don't get sick. Number two is don't die, because you want to live long enough to take advantage of breakthroughs that we're going to see in the future. And those breakthroughs have happened. I am so excited to tell you about the work of Dr. Dan Goodenow. He has found the common denominator in all the neurodegenerative diseases. Alzheimer's, dementia, Parkinson's, MS, autism. Imagine that, the common denominator, but it doesn't stop there. It goes on to cancer, the common denominator, heart disease. All cause mortality, meaning death from any cause, are linked to one single factor. And that's something in your cell membranes called a plasmalogen. And that's what this is about. This is unequivocally the most important thing I have ever read or seen in 40 years of practice. So when I found out about this a little over a year ago, I took a deep dive, and I have studied. I became certified in his work. Now I have completed his elite certification with 100 other doctors worldwide. I'm one of 2 chiropractors. Most of these are MDs and naturopathic doctors. I'm going to tell you about what these plasmalogens are, how we can measure them, and how we can increase those. So let's talk about plasmalogen. It's a phospholipid, which is a fat, and it makes up a good portion of your cell membrane. They're predominantly present in the brain, the heart, the lungs, and the kidneys. They should make up a significant portion of your brain, maybe 20%, and even more in your heart. And your body makes these plasmalogens. They give it flexibility. We're going to talk more about what they do. Now, I also want to mention that this is a very complex subject, and I want to try to keep it as simple as possible. Einstein once said, keep a subject as simple as possible, but not too simple, so I'll do my best. So a plasmalogen, they alone can reverse dementia and other neurodegenerative diseases and dramatically reduce all-cause mortality, as I just mentioned. So I'm going to teach you what they are, what they do, and how we know that they work. That's the published research. Now, back to plasmalogens. They have many roles in supporting a number of functions that are essential for overall health. They contribute significantly to membrane integrity, fluidity, and cell signaling. And they also act as potent antioxidants, and that's why we actually lose them. So the brain has maybe 100 to 200 billion nerve cells. Holy cow, that's a lot of nerve cells, but each one of those has thousands of connections to other nerve cells, and they each have cell membranes. And within the cells are tiny organelles that also have cell membranes, so the numbers are astronomical. These plasmalogens are essential to the function of those cells and those cell membranes and how they communicate with each other. And they also support functions in the brain's gray matter and white matter, neuron function and neuromuscular synaptic activity. These plasmalogens solidify and amplify the signals between neurons to optimize physical and cognitive performance. So in the heart, these plasmalogens strengthen heart muscle by reinforcing cellular structure and function and preventing premature oxidation. In the blood, people with high blood plasmalogens were 80% less likely to experience dementia and are proven to live longer. Even in the nail beds and hair follicles, they allow richer and thicker hair and faster growing nails. They're the building blocks of healthy cells, including building and strengthening the myelin sheath in neuronal cells. So that's just the white matter. That's the insulation that goes around the cell neuron itself. They're in the lungs, and they promote and stabilize membrane fluidity and have significant antioxidant effects in the eyes. They're vitally important in the membranes of neuronal tissue that link the brain and the retina. The higher the plasmalogen levels, the lower the risk of glaucoma. So they act as antioxidants of the body's first line of defense against oxidation and disease. They lead to overall well-being and longevity. But when the body can't keep up with the demand, we start to lose those cells and the function of those cells. So at about age 50, we know that our brains start to shrink. Holy smoke. We don't even know it because your brain has got so many backup systems, but when you get to be my age, we walk into a room and we think, oh, yeah, what did I come in here for? Or, what's that guy's name? And that's just an outward sign that, holy smoke, I've lost a lot of my brain function, my memory. And I can't imagine anything worse than getting older and losing my memory. And I don't know about you, but if you're like me, I've had a family member that actually died from Alzheimer's. So this is very close to my heart. So the bottom line is, when we run out of plasmalogens, we die. And now we know that there's something we can do about it. And not only something, but we can reverse this. And we all know this by the work of Dane Goodenow. He's a scientist, PhD, inventor, a genius. I think he'll win a Nobel Prize for this. He discovered this, and he has published this in his book called Breaking Alzheimer's. And I'm so over the top excited because I can make my own brain better. And that's part of my whole elite certification, is that I will get a brain MRI, a special brain MRI, and we'll measure my brain volume and connectivity and a whole host of other things. There's only one of these in Southern California. We will do his whole protocol, and we're going to talk about how to increase these plasmalogens. But at the end of a year, we're going to redo mine. And what Dr. Goodenow has done, 2.5 years ago, he did this same test, same MRI, did his protocol, which is increasing these blood plasmalogens, and his brain actually got bigger. He grew his brain. He's increased his brain volume, I think, by 15%. And he actually overcame an injury he had to his brain when he was 8. He had a bad concussion, and it showed up 50 years later on this MRI. And 2.5 years later, it's gone. So once again, we can measure these plasmalogens in the blood. And he found all of this out by inventing something called a mass ion spectrometer. And that measured everything in the blood, thousands of metabolites. And what he found was that people with low levels of plasmalogens had dementia, had neurodegenerative diseases, had cancer. Everyone with cancer had low levels of plasmalogens. And once I said earlier, all cause mortality. When you run out of plasmalogens, you die. And we can increase those levels. And actually, you eat plasmalogens every day. Unfortunately, when we eat them, they are destroyed in our stomach acid. But what he found is that you can take a precursor to increase these levels. And he originally made it a drug. And then he realized that he wanted this to be out to everybody, available to everybody. So he made a natural product He calls it prodrome neuro and prodrome glia, and they increase these levels of plasmalogens, two specific types, one for the gray matter, one for the white matter. So dementia is a worldwide crisis. Exercise and diet alone are not enough. The answer is the ability to restore plasmalogens in the brain. Structure always determines function, whether it's outwardly in your posture or in your cells. So I love this analogy. A cell membrane should have fluidity. It maintains, it does a whole lot of things, but when you lose plasmalogens, think about a raisin, and it shrivels up and becomes hard and tough. And that's kind of what's happening when you lose plasmalogens. So subsequently, that cell can't function like it was meant to, whether it's in your heart or your brain or your liver or your kidney or your big toe. We have plasmalogens everywhere. We can increase them by taking these plasmalogens. So once again, I'm just going to reiterate, this is the most important discovery I've heard about in my whole career, 40 years. And you're just now hearing about this. And I think that that's a crime. So who needs plasmalogens? Well, certainly anybody over the age of 50. But also anyone who has had an injury to their brain, a concussion. As a matter of fact, every professional football player has something called CTE, chronic traumatic encephalopathy. And the studies are showing now that every college player has it. And actually 20% of high school football players have CTE. And don't forget other sports like MMA or hockey, or say you were just in a car accident and had a whiplash. Your brain was affected. These are brain injuries. These are concussions, and they last. The brain has a great workaround. You may not know it for a long time. Any other insults to the brain, like too much mercury, that's me. I had way too much mercury from too much tuna, and it really affected my brain. And I got tested. I had it. It took me 2 years to get rid of it. So my brain has had some impacts, and I'm excited to be a part of Dr. Goodenough's whole protocol. I've been on it now for a number of months, and I'm better. My brain's better. My balance is better. I read faster. I retain things better. I just remember better. And you can too. And we need your brain active and working for as long as you live. And the earlier you get started, the better. So I like to say there's two causes of death. One is a lack of information, accurate information, and two is a failure to act on that information or procrastination. So don't procrastinate. Call today, set up an appointment with me, go to drgoodenow.com, start to educate yourself, go to YouTube. And if you don't live close to me, find an elite practitioner that knows this work and does this work, and you can find that on his website. Thanks. And welcome to the future.